Welcome back to another Habs Notebook Podcast with the hockey coach Country Hotel on amazing great Wednesday night, January 22nd, 2025. Are you excited like I am? If not, you're missing something because you have one team in NHL looking good. Send December 1st is the Montreal Canadiens. And we can wait to talk here about the Montreal Canadiens, what happening to them the last couple of weeks. And of course, we're going to sharing this, a couple of news around the Montreal, the prospect, everything about the Montreal Canadiens. Everything is looking great for the Montreal Canadiens. So this is the show to be tonight, talking about your favorite team, the Bleu Blanc Rouge. Full game in NHL tonight. Two important games for the standing for the Montreal Canadiens. The Bruins visit the Devils. Very bad news for the Devils and also for my fantasy hockey team. Uh, Jacob Markstrom got hurt. What was the point behind that, coach? But remember the trade for Jake Allen to the Devils. You have a conditional, a conditional pick on that. See, Jake Allen start 40 game on 12, now dropped the second round pick, I believe, that pick. So something we have to follow up with Jake Allen's situation for Max Strom. And then the Blue Jacket lead 1-0 again the Toronto Maple Leafs. So two teams, the Bruins and the Blue Jacket play tonight. So we're going to follow up the fun update about the game, see what the impact of those games on the Montreal Canadiens and the Sunday, because they are there at the wild card spot numbers 8 in NHL and Eastern Conference. So Montreal right now tonight, they are in the playoff. Like I predict all the time, I'm always right. I told you guys the Montreal will be in the playoff at the end of the year. So far, my prediction is perfectly good since the beginning of the season. But I'm not sure. We're going to ask Marco about that. But before we start, we invite everybody. Don't forget, please, to subscribe and click on the likes. We are on the mission to reach the 9,000 subscriber in the next couple of weeks. So we appreciate all of you to join the show tonight. But a show like a notebook, it's impossible to do it without the co-host of every Wednesday night from Hawkesbury, Marco Larabi, and typically from la rive sud de Montreal. Franks is back in the house tonight, so welcome both of you at the show.
I feel like Patrick Laine skating to center ice of the Bell Center, coach, when you have those applause for us every time. It's great. Or you kind of feel like that imitation Yuppie that was thrown on the ice at the end of the last game there. So I thought about you, coach, when I saw Yuppie lying on the ice. I had a quick thought about, I wonder if you were ever in that position when you were UP in Montreal where you had to go on the ice. Did you ever have to go on the ice when you were UP?
I was not with Montreal. With Montreal
Oh, it was with
Expo.
the Expos.
Yeah, with
Right.
Montreal Expo, I did many tournaments, hockey tournaments. So, um, you know, my signature with the junior with Laval, then Granby and Saint-Saint, and then East Coast Hockey League, everything like that. It was at the end of the national anthem. You have about like 5, 6 again. I was leaving the blue line, skating all the way with a full speed and hit the board at the behind the net. So
Wow, kind of like Hal Gill used to do. Like Hal Gill used to do that in the warm-ups.
yeah, so I
Nice.
was going that all the way. The reason I can do it is because the head of the mascot hit, so you don't hit your face, honestly. So the
Nice.
impact was not there, but sometimes I would crack the eyes of the mascot. Was some, I was
Wow.
some stuff like that. So, but otherwise, or I would lose completely eyes. Like I remember one time I was on a show, I lost the eyes. So, it's the glue. You have to the phone, everything. So you have a kit, but you performing right now. You cannot take a time. So I pick up my
Start
eyes,
gluing,
bring it
yeah,
there.
start gluing your eyes back on. They'll
But it did
traumatize all
not
the
work.
kids.
So
Start
what I
gluing
did, I
their eyes.
taped the eyes you heard so on the one eyes and everything. So anyway, it was a story about that. Frank, welcome back in the house. 2 weeks ago, I believe the last time we saw you, maybe not. Yeah, it was in January, right? The returning at the beginning of January, right? The last time we see you, Frank?
Sorry, it froze for a second for me there.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, I do
yeah.
recall. Yeah, I think it was just a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Awesome to see you. Again, Marco, we see you a couple of times. Saying that, we have a few people knocked it out. We have NHL Hockey News back in the house tonight. Welcome back from Connecticut. I don't know, is it so cold over there? We have moderator and our type, Ron is in the house tonight. Welcome all the likes. XL also, Pete Martin, Gary Connoyer is in the house. We have Gary. Gary is in Ontario. I think he's a Barry. Jack McCool in the house. I don't know if Jack was there last night. I not remember. RJ Calabo, of course, Standout, Philippe from Sherbrooke est de retour avec nous ce soir. Luciano, modérateur, welcome back, Luciano. Thanks to be with us. Nicolas de Bono, another one from Sherbrooke. Luciano, also the top. So everybody is in the house tonight. Thanks so much to you, Paula. And notre ami Sam and Devin is in the house also. So thanks, everybody. But the show tonight, guys, about the subject, honestly, is about the Cinderella story for the Montreal Canadiens. And that's happening right now for the Montreal Canadiens. And honestly, I joke at the beginning of the show when I said I predict Montreal Canadiens to be in the playoff. But at the end of the day, it's really shocking. I don't think you, Frank, or Marco were thinking on the January 22nd, Montreal would be where they at tonight. I don't think so. We have no prediction on that one whatsoever. It's really shocking to see them where they are with the big. If you compare the beginning of the season with after 15 games, it was not looking good. So honestly that's the biggest story in the NHL. I'm going to go through the show tonight talking about the Montreal Canadiens. What happened? Jordan is in the house. Welcome back. Pizza is in the house. Jerry, another Jerry is in the house from Maryland. That's cold over there, in Maryland. Jerry, thanks
Yeah,
to be knocked the
cold
door
everywhere
tonight.
right now.
So
It's cold everywhere.
exactly. So we're going to start the show tonight with we do sometime the headlines. All the three have a specific headline talking about what happening. So Marco, you're going to be the first one to talk about this. So don't worry, I'll be back on the screen. I forgot about that one. But Marco, your first is about the.
Is rest still a weapon? So anybody who follows the Ottawa Senators, I think there was a bit of dialogue between Pierre Dorion and I think it was Guy Boucher at the time. Guy Boucher kind of introduced that line when he was.
Here we go. Frank, are you there? We are back. I don't know if everybody can hear me right now in the chat. I don't know if in our that you can see me. About that, look like we lost we lost the connection at some point. So we'll see. Frank is back with me right now. Frank, welcome back.
Hey, Coach. Is the trouble on my end, or are we
No,
all?
it's
Did
look
we all
like I
get
lost
booted?
it looked like I lost the internet, but we have
Is
Frank
there
also somewhere.
any monsoon situation where you're at? Any tropical
I don't know.
thunder or
I don't know what happened about this one or this. I don't know. Loud and clear, all good. Run, look is okay. So it looked like we are good to go. Uh, well, Marco. So uh, 3-2, Mr. Marco. Let's go get on the headlines if you don't mind, Marco. Here we go.
Sure thing. All right, we'll try this again. So, is rest still a weapon? Question mark. So, like I was saying, like Pierre Dorion and Guy Boucher were kind of the ones that first introduced this, I think, line to the NHL. So, the idea here is that coaches sometimes will use rest, so not practicing, not having morning skates, as almost like a tool, right, to make sure that their teams are well rested. Maybe when they're banged up and all that. So now, if you remember, though, when Dorion fired Guy Boucher, he's like, I never want to hear rest as a weapon, as a phrase ever again. So I guess there's some mixed thoughts on how useful that is. But it's definitely something Martin Saint-Louis has been using for the last 3 weeks, right? So, and what was interesting is it came out recently that he's actually been consulting with Nick Suzuki pretty closely on managing the team schedule, figuring out exactly, okay, so are we going to practice or should we just give the days off and everything else, right? So it's a very fine line, right? Because you heard Saint Louis talk about it recently in some press conferences that it's definitely worked out, right? Like it's hard to argue with Montreal's record, and for the most part, they show up for the games. Like they've had some tough starts, but at the end of the day, it's hard to argue with the results that they've been getting. But when you start to look at some of the kind of like lack of execution that we saw in a couple of plays or everything, it just reminds you that there's a little bit of a fine line, right? Like it's great to use rest as a weapon, but I think today they had their first practice in a while, right? There are some guys that did take some therapy days, but this is the first. I sent you this headline, Coach, before they announced that they had a practice today. So it's interesting, right? So I think it will be interesting to watch kind of what Martin Saint-Louis, how he manages this down the line, because it's always kind of a fine balance between, practicing to make sure that all the execution is still there, making sure that you're still sharp, but at the same time managing, especially with the Four Nations tournament and everything, like the compressed schedule. So I think really good management by Saint Louis to consult with Suzuki and do it that way. So I just thought it was interesting, and we'll see kind of how Montreal shows up tomorrow now that they had a bit of
But I think one of the things I think it's also a credit to the players, because someone like Alex Carrier, who basically joined the team and virtually hasn't practiced for an extended period of time before playing. So they basically played a few games before he had a practice, is what I gather. It's really a credit to him and to like some of the adjustments that they can make on the fly as well. So not only did he have to understand very quickly without practicing the the system and the different plays that they have set up, he also had to like take it in as the games were going on as well, right? So yeah, truly a credit to the players, especially guys like Carrier who joined the team without virtually practicing. But yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
So I'm Frank Marcos, maybe not yours. Look like my internet is struggling right now, so it's up and down. I shut down everything right now around me, but it's still that we try to go through that and maybe pick it up better about that. Headline for Frank.
Yeah, I think one of the bigger question coming into the season was, is Kirby Dach a legitimate second line center? Is he a legitimate top six player that we could play with this roster as it becomes a contending roster? And I think we're getting that answer recently. We're seeing a much more confident Kirby Dach, regardless of the points, regardless of the assists and the goals and how timely some have been. You see a lot of confidence stemming from this still very young player who has missed a lot of time. So there's really been some really strong and encouraging sign that Kirby Dach is not only a top six player and should be a top six player in the future, but it's more and more likely that he's a centerman as well. Like we're seeing him come in, Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I still see that he has the abilities to be a successful centerman. I don't know that he has fully established himself as a 2C yet, but I think we see the glimpses of a confident, tall guy, rangy guy that can gain the zone, win puck battles on the boards, and set up players.
Listen, like I think he's convincing me that he's a top six forward. But it's the face-offs, bro. Like the face-offs are just not there. I know they hired Mark Bureau, and hopefully that can continue. Like I think I've always thought as the vision. Obviously, the size is great. He has the like I said, the vision and the ability to feed his teammates. But I don't know. Like just look at that goal that he scored. Was it against Dallas, the one where Hudson found him in the back door, and he kind of like came in down the wing and came in on the net, just would be such a force down the wing too, right? So if he's able to get his face-off percentage, especially depending what happens with Evans and Dvorak, they're going to need guys to take face-offs, and Newhook isn't that much better either, right? So, but yeah, you're right. Overall, I think everybody's feeling a lot better about it. I think collectively, the Habs fan base was holding their collective breath, right? Waiting to see if he's going to be able to kind of get, kind of the bit of a funk that he was in, in the first half of the season. Even though we all promised we would be patient, we all promised that we wouldn't judge. It's hard not to, right? Because like we've talked about here before, sometimes it's hard to kind of make a distinction between somebody who has lost confidence and somebody who's not working. Because sometimes when you've lost confidence, you're overthinking, and then you're in a bad position. And that sometimes on the ice can look like you're not working or you don't give a shit. But I think all those things are kind of, kind of coming along really nicely. And overall, the second line, I think, is just starting to build some nice chemistry together as well. And if Montreal is going to stay in the race here, that's going to be something that they absolutely need for sure. Coach, what do you think? Is he a center? Is Kirby Dach a center?
Yeah.
I'm asking you. Frank's already on the record. 100% Frank says that he's going to be a center.
What's your take, Coach?
I still believe he's going to be center, and he was frustrated. He smashed the door, everything like that. And sometimes Frank, Marco, you backing out, Marco? I don't know why, Marco. I don't think it's my connection right now, but we'll see you, Frank. But I think we have to give credit Martin Saint-Louis to keep and trust Kirby Dach. The time we tell us, I still believe he's going to be a center. I think with that channel of the Marc Bureau as a face-off guy, I think he could get there. And I think, no doubt in my mind, at some point, he will fit in the lineup when Montreal Canadiens. The key behind that is some point, Frank, like anything, a team getting better and better, they upgrade the talent, the skill. Is it possible to become a third center because we have an upgrade player as a talent? It could happen. I still believe here to be a part of the Montreal Canadiens a long term and more like a center by the time we tell us later about that. My one for me, rest over trying to say, okay, talk about this, Pete. My Frank is about the deal of the year. And I'm talking about Ken Hughes, Frank. I'm talking about the fact one of Montreal Canadiens make a big trade against the Nashville Predator. And about that one there, I don't know. Now we have Frank's coming back. Marco is there. Frank, I don't know what's going on. You disappear back and forth. We're going to try to go through this anyway. The trade for the Montreal Canadiens is about Alex Carrier for Justin Barron, the deal of the year, maybe the steal of the year, Marco, honestly. And we have to give credit for Ken Hughes. Remember, again, the patience of Ken Hughes, the very bad start of Montreal Canadiens, for many ways, Sakaski, Dach, everybody, and that happening, Marco. And then Ken Hughes still there. Keep continues to believe on that team. And they still believe this is the best thing, to be a little bit more patient, wait for the right deal. And when they realized it was the right time to do it, he did it right. And I think for me was not the only reason. One of the reasons when Montreal Canadiens become better, and that would fix the problem on the right side, and also the musical share as a defenseman, pairing, left wing, left side, right side, at some point was terrible. So I think this is the reason why I believe that trade make a big impact for the Montreal Canadiens. So I don't know, Marco, want to add something there about that trade?
Well, I'm going to try to keep my facial expressions really neutral, because if I do so, a weird face, I might get frozen and look like an idiot on the internet forever. So I'm going to try to keep my facial expressions very casual. But I agree with you, Coach Alec. one sign that's always good is I think it was Elliot Friedman that let it be known that there was a lot of GMs that are kind of second guessing why they didn't kind of make this move. Like they're kind of hoping that they made this move. One team you can think of that would definitely have benefited from this would be, say, the Ottawa Senators, that desperately need a right-handed defenseman that could play top four. So yeah, like I think there's a lot of teams that are kind of scratching their heads, wondering why they weren't more interested in doing this. Pierre McGuire has been pretty vocal that when he was at Ottawa, this is a player that he wanted to go after, but I think Pierre Dorion didn't feel as strongly about him. So it's crazy, right? It's very similar to the trade deadline. Like remember, every year you see a couple teams take really big swings and they'll get like really big names. And sometimes, like the Rangers when they got Kane and when they got Tarasenko, and then usually the teams though that really do well are the teams that do these. I wouldn't call Carey a depth pro move, right? Like not as high profile. And so it shows what you can do when you're really targeting a very specific piece that's going to help your lineup and not going for a bid name. So it's hard to argue that it's not the most impactful trade. Maybe the Avalanche with their goaltending trades could compete for that title. It's not every year that you see a team overhaul its entire goaltending roster. So that's a big one too. But I'd say those are the top two this year for sure.
And also, you have to remember Marco and Frank, the Colorado get back two goaltender from the Devils. So,
Yep.
it was really interesting to see that for the Devils and for the Colorado. And we talk about the Montreal prospect news. Jacob Fuller and Michael Edge, Marco. A little bit explain to a little bit more what happening to them.
Yeah, well, really, really amazing news. Like, I think, well, I didn't know it was Hage, coach. I thought it was just Fowler with Leonard and Perreault that were nominated for Hobie Baker Award. I don't think Hage was nominated, but I think it's three guys, right? So basically, all from the same team from Boston.
No, they
They
have
all got.
Marco. You have 10 of them usually.
Oh, okay. So I didn't see that it was Hage as well too. So that's amazing. So you have two of Montreal's top prospects. You'd say, it's two out of their three top prospects in their organization being recognized for this, nominated for this award. So Fowler has been on an absolute heater recently. Had a really strong weekend, another shutout. So amazing news. Like, it just shows, we're all excited about what's on the big club right now, but listen, I don't think we're about Demidov, or like Demidov just been on an absolute heater. So what isn't going well right now for the Montreal Canadiens organization? It's everything is looking pretty rosy, coach. So great news. Really exciting to see that.
Exactly about that. Now it's time to talk about the Montreal Canadiens recap game between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Montreal Canadiens. But scored 3-2 yesterday. Big W for the Montreal Canadiens. And I would like to hear from all of you, both of you. And look like when we change the graphic, we'll try to one more time. Could be a problem, but we'll see if it's not a problem. Last time we lost Marco, so Marco stay there. If it's too much complicated, we're going to see more on this one graphic, but we'll see what's happening there. Montreal Canadiens with that W got 5, 8, and 18, fifth in the Atlantic Division, 8th of Eastern Conference, and 18 in the standing in NHL. And they are the spot in the playoff right there. The power play was 1 and 2. The PK was 100%, 4 and 4. Sakoski, Newhook, and Evans scored a goal for Montreal Canadiens. Big game for the Marcel Montembeault. Big save. Save percentage of 9-4-3, I believe, at 33 and 35. But now, Frank, it's your turn to talk about that game. What did you see from that game yesterday overall by the Montreal Canadiens against the Tampa Bay Lightning?
Yeah, I missed some parts of the first half, so I can only really go about some of the highlights I've seen, not the full thing, but the statement or the observation that I could make is the first two periods, the Habs look very dominant. They look very much in control. But in the third period, they look like Carey Price era Habs, where they had to have their goaltender save their butts. So that's an interesting approach against such a powerful team like Tampa Bay. You were expecting a little bit of pushback after such a strong showing at first. So when you need it to have the big saves, Monty was there to make those. So it's good to see that he can deliver in that sense. We have seen sort of uneven, I would say, performances from him. We can even go back to last Saturday where it probably wasn't his best showing, and he wanted to bounce back from that, and he's done it. So it's good to know that you have a goaltender that can really backstop you into a win against a powerful team, as well as a goaltender who can bounce back from a bad performance. So absolute kudos to Montembeault for that. But yeah, the first couple of periods, I think they look much stronger than the third one for sure. So it's good to see that they can play. And once again, what I really like about this team, or at least the stretch that we're seeing from this team, is it's truly like the kids who have been, those players, or core players who have been really driving the show there. So guys like Evans, guys like Suzuki, Caulfield, etc. Slafkovsky had a strong game yesterday, I believe. So, sort of those guys being the drivers, I think is absolutely key for the rebuild. And I think we saw a bit of that yesterday as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I like that there's a but after all these, coach, for sure. I think there's some, you want to start with the good news or the bad news, right? So we'll start with the good news because, like it was a win, right? So we, by the way, so one thing I looked up, so Montreal, I think, is number 2 in the NHL this year in comeback wins. So I think they have 13 comeback wins this year, which is number 2 in the NHL, which is amazing, right? So we talked about this last show last week there, Frank. We're talking about resilience. So just another resilient effort by Montreal. I agree with strong kind of the.
I'm losing everybody. About that, let's continue. I don't know if you see me. I don't know. It's like it's a problem I cannot. It's something I cannot control right now. It's all of my on my hands right now. It's like up and down. Marco, you're fine. Frank, you welcome back. Everything like that. Marco, constantly doing. I
Okay.
just turned on that.
Yeah. So we're doing the recap, right? So lots of good stuff, like again, like good resilience. What Martin Saint-Louis often talks about is, it's nice to have good results, but you have to be truthful about what you're seeing, right? So I think, for being truthful, obviously we're seeing, like I was like kind of what I was alluding to with the practice, right? Like some lack of execution. Frank, if you missed the first period, Gouli had a pretty tough first period. The first goal was directly kind of him boggling the puck in front of the net. It was like he's just kind of lost in his feet, a little lack of concentration. And then Kucherov was able just to kind of snoop in. And then the second goal, Dach misses his guy off the faceoff and lets him walk right up. And so, listen, like overall, like it's only 2 goals against, right? But I felt the first 2 periods were really low event, and Montreal, they were okay, but again, like the really good news again is being able to come back, but it's it's playing with fire, guys. Like the PK, you have to talk about the PK in this game, 4-for-4 against arguably one of the most dangerous power plays in the NHL. So guys, it's hard to poo-poo on this, right? Like, and that's sometimes where you get fooled because like we're all excited about the wins, especially like because what was different about the really big streak that they had, it wasn't just the results, but it was how they were getting the results. They were playing so tight defensively, limiting. Like I think back to that Florida game, where Dobesh got that shutout. That was masterful, right? Like they only allowed 5, high danger scoring chances in that whole game. So if you look at that stretch, like right starting January to where they are now, they are playing a bit looser. And, like right now they have a lot of confidence, right? So when you have confidence, it means you'll go out, you have confidence, you think you can come back. But like Martin Saint-Louis says all the time, right? Like you can't, when you're not going to have your A game, your B game needs to be very strong. And for me, the B game means limiting those high danger scoring chances and limiting those mistakes. So we'll see how, like, again, they had the practice today. Let's see if that helps them kind of sharpen up a little bit. They're still in a really, really crazy part of their schedule here. And I think they've obviously overperformed everybody's wildest dreams so far in January. So it's very difficult to be critical, right? But I'm just trying to look at it logically that if I'm Martin Saint-Louis, a good coach is able to do this, right? Like, you don't want your guys to get too high and get overly confident. You want little things for them to continue to work on. And overall, I think what you hear in the interviews, it does sound like every game after every game, they put that other game behind them and they get, Jesus, man, what's up with Columbus? Like, Toronto's really screwing us. Like, Toronto beats us, and now they're letting Columbus beat them, which is in both cases not helping Montreal in the standings. Is there other ways that Toronto can screw with Montreal? Jeez, it's terrible. I guess it's because they played Hildeby tonight. Anyways, so Coach, it was a fun game. The party goes on. The Cinderella story, like your thumbnail says, goes on. I'm just saying there are still a couple things to be a little bit more to analyze and to kind of look at. And I would like to see them kind of like get back to what they were doing when they're really locking things down defensively a bit more. And I think they'll give them chances to be in the games moving forward. So still pretty exciting, but I don't know what you guys think. Like, are you seeing their defensive game slip a little bit, kind of like I am, or what do you guys think?
I can add something right there. And for me, Marco, this is now the feeling I have. They don't have a great weekend whatsoever. They win this weekend, right? If you look about period per period, I feel like they're starting to get very, very tired of the long schedule they got from December. I feel like they're starting now, you know, they don't practice the morning. They try to minimize or maximize their energy. But the first period, they was not there at all. And the third period, guys, I think the shot was 15-8 for Tampa Bay Lightning. This is all about Montembeault yesterday. But they fight through that, right? They stay there, Frank. They not go nowhere. They continue to perform and to get there. And that's happening for the Montreal Canadiens during that game against Tampa Bay Lightning. But it's not like it's a red flag what I try to bring for everybody here. I just want to bring everybody the fact like maybe maybe Montreal need right now to have some day off because it's getting hard for them for the Montreal Canadiens. So we have to see what they're going to respond. And everybody try to come back one by one. I appreciate Marco and Frank to fight through the internet to come back all the time. We appreciate that to be back. And for that one, guys, I want to mention to you the Montreal Canadiens. Stand they are at the bottom. They was at the 32, right? At the end. They have a record now, the 20-10-2 for a safe winning percentage, 656. Is this the best third um, winning percentage? Since the return of Patrick Laine, December 3rd, the record is 16-6-1. This is the second best in the NHL. And since the trade for Carrier, December 18, they have a record of 12-3-1 first. One thing, Marco, I always pay attention because you always remind me that the Atlantic Division, what they look like. Right now, they are 8-2-0 in 10 games. I'm talking about the last 10 game and the Atlantic Division. So Montreal Canadiens are looking good on those, on the schedule. But I think right now Montreal have to be a little bit more careful about what could happen the next couple of games. They return on the ice tomorrow night. But I would like to finish the game, then probably Lightning versus the Montreal Canadiens, by this one, the stood out players, Marco, and the obscure, and of course the one have to go at the office. Marco going to start. Frank going to join you player. After that, you can take the same player, Frank, if you want to. We want to welcome everybody. Thanks everybody to be a part of the show. Don't forget, please, to click on the like. If you don't mind, that'd be great. We apologize again for internet. It's all in my hands right now. I turn off. It's really funny. I have nothing, Marco, right now. All my computers are off. I have three with me. The TV is off. My phone is no Wi-Fi. I'm working on the Wi-Fi right now, so I try my best.
Have you tried? Have you tried turning off your live stream feed to the menu noir? Because I know it's hard for you to tear your eyes off that, but maybe you're stealing too much bandwidth to your live stream to the club. I don't know. Maybe just a suggestion. But so yeah, so I think for stood out, um, that's an interesting one. Like I'm trying to think back. Like I think I have to say it's going to have to be from the PK, right? Because I think that's really what won Montreal the game. I'm going to say Armia, because he was so integral in kind of like the PK. You could easily say Evans, right, too, because he scored. So between Evans and Armia, I guess Evans makes more sense. He scored the winning goal, but you could say the entire PK really kind of is what did it. And like I know Montembeault made some big saves, but I think he's part of the PK, right? So when I say PK, it means the guys on the ice and the goaltending for me. Obscure, we'll say Slav. Not only did he score, but he was really physical out there, brought lots of energy. So I liked his game at the office. And again, like it's not a huge trend or anything, but I think Gouli had a tough game, right? So I would just kind of check in with him, call him in the office, say, "Hey, buddy, how's it going? Like, are you tired? Are you tired? Do you need a nap? Is everything okay? Do you need like a juice box? Maybe offer him a juice box to get his blood sugar up or something. I don't know." But yeah, I felt he was a little bit off last night. Coach, I think you're right, about the tiredness. Another thing that might explain the fact that they're tired is all the penalties too, right? Like the hooking penalties, sticking penalties, stuff like that. So I would bring in Gouli. Like it wasn't his strongest game, just to check in with him and make sure that everything's cool. But otherwise, I don't see any huge guys that were kind of problematic. It would be more just to check in with Gouli and see kind of where his energy levels are at and what I can do to help him.
Mr. Frank.
Yeah, I think they're all valid candidates. I do have different ones here, but I will still have that disclaimer that I missed a chunk of the first half of the game there. But for me, I think Montembeault is really the reason they won this game, especially at the very end. In the third period, an onslaught of shots, a lot of dangerous ones, a couple 2-on-1s, some serious saves there. So there's no winning Jake Evans goal if it's not 2-2, and I think he's a big reason why that game was still within reach by the middle of the last frame, if you will, and towards the end. So. Yeah, absolute bounce back game from Montembeault. My obscure one, just so I can have a different one than you. I'm gonna go with David Savard. I think everyone saw that last sort of minute
That's
where
pretty good.
he ate the puck for like a whole minute with three guys on his back, just like poking at him like he was some barbecue skewer or whatnot. a little stick grabbing as well there. So yeah, I think it was a savvy, no pun intended, veteran play from him there to really
nicely
kill the clock.
Nicely done there, Frank.
He's a good one.
Got puns in there.
As far as, yeah.
He was like a human pinata at the end. It's like a human pinata at the end, right? Like, yeah, that's a really good catch. What about at the office?
Yeah.
Who would you, if you're St. who you're calling into the office?
Yeah, I haven't seen, like I said, the first period, but I saw some pretty horrendous moves by Matheson. I think his turnovers, a couple of bad decisions, a couple of shots that missed completely. So like I said, I haven't seen the first part of the game, but from what I saw, it looks like Matheson struggled a little bit. I don't have the advanced metrics either. But yeah, it doesn't sound like it was his best effort. So yeah, that's who I would go with.
Good point. It's very hard to come back after you guys, after two, main at the office. My pick was Mike Madison on that one also. My stood out, honestly, was Montembeault. I think without Montembeault yesterday, this is Montreal not going to win on that one. for on the obscure. Can we go with Sakaski?
That's why I chose. Yeah, you
I
can
thought
you
that
can
you
copy
picked
out
that
the
one,
answer.
right? So
Yeah,
I think
yeah, it's okay.
Sakaski not only plays the goal, it's the way he was involved yesterday, his engagement, number the hit, number the shot. It's another Sakaski right there. So the Rockets just scored
That's
2-1,
also
by the way. So
that's
great
also
point, guys.
exactly what I said. Good.
Great review for everything.
If you
And
want another culprit, if you want to have another guy that could be under scrutiny for something he's done that wasn't quite up to snuff, I was pretty much ripping my head, my hair out of my head in the last like 2 minutes. There were a bunch of icings, and they were trying to get guys off the ice who were there for a long time. And Dvorak had a really clean, couple seconds to really get it out of the zone on his strong side as well, and just fumbled it or got a turnover there, and I thought it was just absolutely unacceptable. So that was just one isolated play. So I haven't really paid attention to his game for, like I said, a big chunk of the first half of the game. But yeah, that was a pretty brutal play at a very key moment.
Yeah, he
great
was
point.
Wayne Gretzky in the part that you missed. He was the best player on the ice. So yeah.
Oh, I'm
Marco, did
sure.
you read the comments for N26?
Should we bring Struble to the office to make sure that he knows he isn't forgotten? I'm sure that's a good point. Like, I know it's maybe a joke, but I'm sure Saint Louis and the rest of the coaching staff, has a really good communication with those guys, right? And gives them a plan, and communicates with them. That's Martin Saint Louis' superpower is making sure that players know where they stand. But yeah, it's been he hasn't gotten into the lineup since I guess Savard was injured, so he played like 3-4 games or whatever. And I think we're all happy to see Savard back when he came back. So, continue à manger ton pain noir, Monsieur Struble, puis on va voir.
Laval 2-2, guys.
There you go. Owen Beck.
Laval score
No?
2-2. Back-to-back goal for the Laval
Looks like
Rocket.
looks like a much better game than the one that I saw when I was there last Saturday. That was a pretty bad
Oh,
one.
Yeah, the last
really, yeah?
Saturday. Yep. Again, the team Utica. The next line, guys. What are the reasons for the Montreal's success, Marco and Frank's? And this is coming from Rudolph. Rudolph is in the chat right now. He sent me, Marco, 5 different things. And he asked me to put this in order. So I think it would be an exercise that people can join us and we see what they look like. Hopefully, I can change everything and nothing happen for internet.
Right.
But here are there, and they are not in order. You have to fix this, Marco and Franks. So Laney return fixing the power play. Hudson emergence. The action of the Alexandre Carrier. The 4 line doing great. And Martin Louis coaching paying off. I know it's hard. I know it's not like, oh, this one go there, it's more easy. But if you have to put this on the order, just by number, what Marco and Frank, you can take a bit longer if you want to take a little bit longer to check that. And it's not like they be off of that. But I think it's a great thing, a question, and how you feeling about the success of Montreal Canadiens. So I know I put you right there on the spotlight, Marco.
Good.
Not many thinking about this, but I will let you go with that.
Sure. No. Well, hey, kudos to Rudolph. This is, I think, it's hard to argue that these are some of the main reasons why Montreal has turned it around. I see some other suggestions in the chat here, like health. That's another good one. Rolling 4 lines. That is, I think, a really big key to Montreal. Being able to, especially in a condensed schedule, right? Like not having to play guys 25 minutes a game like some other teams. So some great suggestions in the chat. But looking at Rudolph's points here, I think these are probably the ones that most people would agree on. If I was to venture to put these in order, you have to put, for me, you have it last, but for me, it's Martin Saint Louis' coaching would be number 1, because none of the other things work if Montreal isn't playing better as a team, right? So all the concepts, all the collective, all them playing connected and everything else, I think you can argue it both ways, right? Like, is it individual performance that's helping the collective?
Here we go. They are gone again. Again, guys, I try my best. Dixon, welcome back in the house. And hopefully you're doing well. And Frank, come back again. Thank you so much, Frank, to be patient with that situation about that one over there. I apologize again that where I don't know. It's like you disappear like that. I don't have no button beside me to eject you out of the of the show like that. And then I have nothing else. Like everything is off. So I don't know. It's a software, Frank or not, but well, because honestly, you guys you're in and out. So it's not because the internet at the end is I don't know because we're not out here. So anyway, Marco, maybe give you a little bit more time about that order. We appreciate a lot again, both of you, your patient right there. So
Yeah.
we are not at the black menu, by the way. In our talk.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think probably the most important one for me is the overall, like the coach, like you can call it coaching, right? But the buy-in, like, being able to sell all the players on buying in, and then the players actually buying in, and everybody doing that. Because without that, all the other things that are here, like Line coming in and ripping it up, Hudson emerging, does Kent Hughes go and get Carrier if he doesn't see that the team is playing a bit better and wants to kind of help them? So yeah, for me, I would put it in that order. So I would say, Frank, I don't know, like the coaching / like, buying in. Then I would say I'll change the fourth line doing great to all four lines rolling. I think it would be for me. Then I would say Hudson, and then I would say Line, and then Carrier. That would be the order that I would do it in.
Yeah, it's so hard because I think, like you said, like it's all sum that create it's a bigger sum than all parts, right? So I know it's supposed to be said more eloquently, but you'll have to indulge me here. But yeah, I think you could argue, and you look at the stats that Carrier, since he's there, everything has clicked, everything has gelled. So I don't know where I would put it, but I would probably put it a bit higher up. But it's hard. It's impossible to rank because they're all very, very important parts. There's a couple others that haven't been mentioned here, but like Dobesh has been lights out, and he's been a huge contributor because he's, he was able to backstop a couple of games where, if he's not stellar, they don't win it.
If he's not 5-0, that's 10 points in the standings that you have to somehow get from Primo, right? And whereas Montreal, let's be generous and say that Primo gets like 20% or 30% of those points. Montreal's like 7 points out or 8 points out or whatever, right? So yeah.
Exactly. So these are all super important pieces, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. So I'll go with you. I fully agree that MSL's coaching payoff is priority number one. And then you could probably, in a weird way, you could kind of link 1 and 2. I would say, like especially on the PP. So I'll do 5-3 just to throw a wrench in there, and then 4-1-2. 4-2-1. Sorry.
I think one that's not on the board here that we have to put into is the beard. How can we not have the beard as a really critical part here? Like, could you imagine if Martin St. Louis shaves that thing off, or let's say his wife fucks around with his clippers or something, and he shaves it off by accident? Like, we have to protect that beard at all costs, guys. Like, it's like a national treasure at this point. So.
Yeah, I think he has security for it now.
Yeah, the Montreal has insurance on the beard.
Yeah. We'll see how long he's going to keep it until the struggling. I'm sure about that. I want to consider with other subject. Montreal news. Montembeault starter again the Detroit tomorrow. Monday, we have a show with me, and Devin, and our Pap talking about the start of the week, right? Um, Not a controversy. Media try to, when do you win, Frank and Marco? It's hard to find subject, right? So
Yeah.
the media try to to find something, and they talk about controversy, who will be the starter, and everybody was agree with Montembeau. Most of the people Tuesday. Then I bring that question Tuesday, Monday night. I say, "You, hi guys," I said, if Montembeau have a great start, like if he's still the game and he's really now the first start of the game and everything, they will start him again to Thursday. And most of the people was telling me no, you have to go with Tobesh and then Montembeau Saturday. So Martin said we changed the plan and he's going to be back with Montembeau. So Frank, how you feel about that? Is it the right decision or you feel okay? You said, look, this is a should be that way because Montembeau is still number one. So Frank, what do you think about that decision?
I'm fully on board. I think it's Montembeau's net. As much as Dobish has been good, I don't know that either Montembeau has been terrible enough to warrant him losing it to start a position, nor has Dobesh, especially the last game or two. Like he was good, but he wasn't as like
Yeah.
incredibly dominant. Like I think he was still very good and deserves starting, a bunch of games throughout the season. But I think it's still Monty's net, and until something drastic happens, it's going to be his net, and therefore like he should be seeing most of the starts. Um, and especially like January, there's been lots of back to backs. There's like tough matchups one after the other. So like he's getting ice time. Like for a guy who's only played 5 games, they happen in a very like short timeline. So it's already like a good number of games that he was giving in a short period of time, in my opinion, Dobesh. So let's not burn him. Let's still keep trying to some extent manage his workload. But yeah, especially after a strong performance like yesterday, you keep your starting goalie who is hot in the net.
Yeah, coach, I agree, man. I don't see any controversy here at all. Like, I think Eric Ingles got a lot of heat for saying this online, but I was thinking the same exact thing is, again, not taking anything away from Dobesh and the wins that he got in Florida and in Colorado. But like I referenced earlier, those were probably some of the best defensive games that Montreal played all season. They were protecting him like crazy. They were letting him see all the pucks. So I'm not saying like again, full credit to him. He made all the stops, and I'm not saying like all the saves were easy, right? I'm just saying that Montreal played their best defensive games. We've yet to see Montreal have a B game with him in net. Honestly, like you could argue the last game, like there was maybe one or two that he'd like back, but then it was the typical Grant Fuhrer kind of win, right? Like where he made the saves in the end, like a 6-5 win, classic, 1980s Grant Fuhrer style kind of win, right? So to me, there's not much controversy here. But I think you want Montembeau to stay on a roll. I think they know the energy level. We talked a lot about energy level on this show, but the goalie coach and the coaching staff, I'm sure they have a really good plan in terms of how they need to manage both guys. And I have no reason to mistrust kind of how they're going to schedule this out. So we'll see if he ends up getting New Jersey on Saturday. I wouldn't be mad if either way, right? Like Montembeau plays 3 games in a week, like that's standard number one thing, right? But you just don't want Dobesh sitting for too long. I think 1 start per week for me is exactly where you want Dobesh to be. Another person I can't.
I have a question for both of you. Can tell me, is it possible? And I'm maybe out of this, but is it possible the fact Samuel Montembeau is going to play with Team Canada for the Four Nation? The Montreal Canadiens try to helping also to give a possibility to be the starter for the Team Canada. Is it a good point? We think it's possible to be a part of the decision at the end of the day. Frank.
Yeah, I don't see management being too concerned about the Four Nations Cup, and yeah, I don't think that's their concern. I think they're really in the hunt for a playoff spot, and that's priority number one. Um, and again, at the same time, it's not like they're riding Montembeault as much as they were riding him when Primo was struggling. They're still giving him most of the starts, right? So I'm still, I doubt that it's even crossed their minds. I think they're gonna wish him the best and hope he comes back healthy and not too worn out. But yeah, I don't know that they're trying to manage him in order to set him up for success.
We don't even know if he's going to play, right? Like it might just be like a chill week and a half for him too, right? Like he may not even back up, like he might not even be in uniform, right? So if you're Montreal, I don't think you can let that really kind of dictate how you're going to manage things. The example I was going to give Coach before I kind of disappeared was somebody was comparing like Heineman and how he's performed to how they're managing Dobes. So everybody wanted to move Heineman up the lineup because he's scoring so much and he's playing so well. But maybe the reason he's playing so well is because the amount of minutes and who he's playing with is perfect for him, right? So why screw with something that's working, right? So same thing with Dobes, right? Like he's performing well with the workload that you're giving him before you decide to kind of like just triple his workload and make him the starting goalie out of nowhere when it's only 5 games and it's way too short of a sample to make that decision. Just why screw with the winning formula right now? Like just let him do what he's doing as long as he's not sitting for long periods of time, because that's the one thing we all want to avoid. He needs to start playing games. Here we go. So, Coach, I don't know what you're doing, man. Like I think you're playing psychological warfare with us. Like it's a mind game at this point.
It's funny because every every time I click something, like something I like, so I'm afraid to click on something, but I have to click on something to put you back on the on the camera. So I'm laughing myself when I said,
yeah, it's
and
no big deal,
honestly,
Coach.
it's not internet right now. It's really the software. I cannot see it because I'm not frozen. We don't lose
Yeah.
anything. So it's really the
Can I tell you
software.
something funny?
I'm
Can I tell
sorry.
you something funny? So to tell you something funny, I don't know, Frank, if you got this message, but one of the error messages that comes up on the browser is the stream blew up.
Yeah, I got
Your
the stream got
blew up.
destroyed or
Got destroyed. Yeah. The stream got destroyed.
So I apologize for that one. There, guys, we're going to cut the show at 10 o'clock if you don't mind, both of you, because honestly, I can continue after that. But I would like to go to the clash right away, and then we're going to move on back after the subject. I have a couple of subjects for you guys on that one. So the clash, guys, I have a couple of questions. People in the chat can honestly click on it and it comments on the chat. And the clash is right there. I apologize. Hopefully nobody disappear on that one. And we go to right there. So again, guys, it is what it is. Um, by the way, it's snow in Florida, and it's like you have a really bad weather on the south of the new place called the Gulf of America. On that one, but they have a really bad weather, snow. They never see snow like that about this. So I wish the best people, and a bit lucky that snow did not happen during the weekend. Imagine the return of all the people in holidays of the Martin Luther King. Imagine Marco, like Monday, and you have a big storm like that around the USA. That would be already really bad. But here we go, Frank. You're the first one. Absolute one, not at all. First round pick for Jake Evans. Absolute or not at all. If you make that trade.
Gotcha. So if I was in charge, or do I believe that Kent Hughes would be taking that trade?
Or could they get a first round pick?
Now, the question is, if they get a first-round pick for Jake Evans, Montreal Canadiens, do you think they should do the trade? So if he said yes, is absolutely. If it's no, whatever they give a first-round pick, I don't make a trade.
Gotcha. I personally would. I think it's realistic that they might get a first-round pick. Every year, we're always saying it's impossible that he fetches this. It's impossible player X fetches that. And yet, every year, GMs overpay for someone. I think it's not too crazy, especially when you consider a late first-round pick. But he has to ramp up the production because he's cooled down a little bit. Yes, he had one yesterday, but I think he was cooling down a little bit before that. So if he still continues as on pace for like a 25 goal season, I think he does get that first round pick. That's only if production ramps up the way it was a couple of weeks ago, the trend he had a couple of weeks ago. So if you get that first round pick for Evans and I can't use, I take that first round pick immediately. So I think it's realistic. It's possible if the production goes back to what it was a couple of weeks back.
So I don't know. Like
Marco, by the way, before you answer, I said in the chat. Right now, we feel like Martin Saint-Louis when he said tonight we play a big game. So I feel like tonight, me and you and Frank, we have a big game because of internet.
Resilience. It's all about resilience, coach. Coming back, fighting against the odds. That's what we're doing tonight.
And
fighting.
Kudos to everyone who is staying. Eh? So thanks for everyone who's watching and
said,
indulging us.
Well said.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry about that, Marco.
No, it's good. So I don't know, Frank. Like I don't think Evans. I think everybody knows who Jake Evans is. I think he's a known commodity. I don't think whether he scores another 4 goals the next 15 games matters as to what the team's going to pay. I think they know. Everybody knows all the players at this point, right? So whether or not if I'm Montreal, if I'm accepting a first round pick, it's going to be a late round pick, right? It's going to be a team that's contending. Like so, I don't do it, guys. Like I'm re-signing Jake Evans. So I if I'm getting a 28th overall pick for Jake Evans at this point, I don't think we need that. I don't think it's really going to help. I think the value of having Jake Evans for the rest of this season, and certainly for the next few seasons as we ramp up some other people to play center for the Montreal Canadiens. Because again, center depth, I think, is the biggest question mark in all of their entire organization, right? So for me, I'm not trading Jake Evans. I'm not. So I wouldn't do a first round pick. If if somebody let's say Calgary, like a team like that, we already have their first round pick, but let's say Seattle tries to trade for Jake Evans and it's like a 14, maybe a lottery pick, maybe. But if Winnipeg is calling me and asking me for Jake Evans, no, thank you.
So there's 2 things I would add to that, though. Like I understand like this is a theoretical exercise, but maybe there's already a contract negotiation and there's a ballpark figure that his agent has brought forward, and maybe they know they're not gonna meet there. So they might have more information as to whether or not it is possible that they sign him in the off season. So that could also drive that decision. And the other thing too is nothing prevents you from trading him for a first round pick and then signing him in the off season again. It doesn't happen a lot, but it's not impossible.
It never happens. It's not impossible, but there's something about it, right? Like you cross the threshold and you see, the grass on the other side, and it's just never like we talked about that with Monahan. We talked about it like we always hear that, but I don't think I've ever seen it. I think Bukestad is really the only player I've seen do that, where he ended up back in Arizona. Other than that, it doesn't happen. So you're not wrong. Like sorry.
Did Mark Recchi do that once? Did that ring a bell?
I don't think so. Like he really jumped around team to team towards the end of his career, though. So I can't really remember. It's kind of a fog, like where he was in Boston, Philadelphia, Columbus. Like he played everywhere. Like the last 5 years of his career, it all blends into one place for me. So I don't know. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure Nick Bjugstad is the only one. He got traded to Edmonton, I think, and then ended up signing back in Arizona. So I don't know, Coach. Like we've talked about this at length. For me, an interesting question here that's come up recently for Evans guys is: do you go for a longer term and a lower amount, or do you go higher amounts and shorter term? That's an interesting one as well.
Good question, Frank. You said my point of view was honestly exactly what you said for me for Jake Evans. If Montreal know already they can now resign him, they get a first round pick. I think they're going to get it. They're going to do it, and because I think they can use that asset, Marco, to do exactly what they did last year, to trade that asset to go lower or to make an impact on other players at the trade. So we'll see what's happening about the Jake Evans. Marco, do you resign Joel Amia? And I'm not talking about the money or
Yeah.
do you
No.
resign Joel Amia?
Absolutely. Absolutely. How can you not look at the Montreal PK right now and like who in Montreal system can come in and do what Yoel Armia does right now on the PK? So for me, I think it's clear that Montreal wants to continue moving forward, not going back, right? So as long, again, it's not going to be the same money. I don't think it's going to be the same money, and the cap, like as we know, is going to be going up. So even if it's similar money, it's not going to be the same percentage of the cap. So for me, I think the players that Montreal has coming up, I don't like you need those players to come in and play critical roles on the team. A lot of people just view the fourth line as people that are just going to go, give body checks and eat minutes and everything else. But the way Montreal is built, having four lines, you need those bottom six to the way that Montreal is playing right now, the way their system is built. Those guys need to be on the ice in the defensive zone in the last minute of the game doing PK. I just don't see Tuck or Jacky coming in, and I don't think Montreal is going to definitely take a step back next year. If you think that Jacky or Tuck is going to be coming into the fourth line and being even close to as effective as a player as Yoel Armia in the next 2 years on PK. So obviously there, it always depends on money and term for sure. There's limits to what I would do to re-sign him, but for sure, if the question is, if you want to re-sign Armia, my answer is yes, absolutely.
I agree with everything you just said, but I'm extremely wary. We've seen this guy disappear for such long stretches of time. He's also, I believe, 31 or 32.
Yeah, no, 31.
So if you sign him for, 4 years or something like that, he's going to be 35 with a 3 or 4 mil contract a year. And in all likelihood, not as effective as he is right now in your cup window. So I'm extremely wary, but I think you're right. I don't know that there's anyone right now who can replace him. And he's extremely valuable. So it's kind of a win-win / lose-lose. Damn if you do, damn if you don't. But yeah, I'm with you. I think he gets re-signed.
Laval Rocket come back again to win the game in overtime, 3-2. This is the third of the last 4 games they win. The last 4 games, they bounce back. They did exactly against Utah last Wednesday. They bounced back with 3 deficit, 3 goals. Again, the Scranton. 2 goals, Utica Friday. And they maybe, Frank, you should stay home the next time they play because you jinx the Laval Rocket Saturday. You was at the game. And then they bounce back again tonight. So
and Hershey's a good team. Hershey's a very good team.
No, yeah. They've been in the final. They won last year, if I can recall it.
Yeah.
The last 2 years, right?
2 years, yeah.
And Frank, maybe we don't often talk, we don't have too many people come on that have a chance to go. Could you just in 1 minute or less just tell us what the experience was like going to watch the game in Laval? I'm sure there's a lot of people that are curious, what the fan experience is like being in Laval.
Yeah, well, it starts with being able to sit like in the first few rows without having to sell a liver. So that's already a good thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like obviously it's not the NHL, but you're gonna get some really good hockey. You're gonna get some really good, like the ambiance is there is super nice, especially on a Saturday. Like there's loads of people. The upper bowl is open, so it's really like nearly 10,000 strong. So
Wow.
yeah, absolutely. If you get a chance, if you can just hop on the metro, it's easy to get there. Yeah, for a couple dozen bucks, you get a really fun night.
That's
Here we
amazing.
go. Frank, and the last 35 game remaining is my question of the day, by the way, tonight. He's going to be out at 10 o'clock. He's maybe out now. The last 35, if we do a schedule for the last 35 ascending, do you think Montreal Canadiens are going to finish at the top 10 for the last 35 of the Montreal Canadiens on the remaining? So the max point he can get is 70 points. What do you figure on Montreal? And the top 10 or out of the top 10?
So, how many points do they have now?
20,
40, 50,
40,
50,
50.
50. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think they're going to be probably around 100, maybe a little bit. It's so hard to predict, right? But yeah, I'm gonna go conservative. I'm gonna say like they probably get 50 points out of 70, which is still very good. Um, and that still only brings them to 100 points, right? So I I think they're not cracking the top 10. I think they're going to be very seriously in that wild card position. Like in all likelihood, right now, because the vibes are so good and because things are going so well, and it doesn't look like they're going to be sellers or at least not hard sellers at the trade deadline. I think it's realistic to think they're going to get the wild card spot, but that I don't think that brings them in the top 10 though.
We have to hurry up, Marco, because if we finish the show before the game, finish Toronto, we're still in the playoff. But if Columbus finish the game, now we are out of the playoff.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is a little maybe over optimistic, coach. Like, so Montreal filling in the top 10 in the NHL. Jeez, that would be incredible. But yeah, I see them, I'm hopeful that they'll be in that wild card. So, I think anywhere from 12 to 15 is kind of where I see them. Right. So, I'm going to say absolutely not. Not at all. Sorry. It's combining both.
So right now they are in the top 5 in the last 30 game,
Yeah.
right?
But in the last 30 games, because in that calculations, you forego the first couple of months of the season, which they let a lot of points on the table. So it's going to
One
be hard to
thing,
catch up.
one thing which affect that is really the trade deadline for the Montreal Canadiens, and also an
Yeah,
impact for other team about that. I, It'll be very close. I think Montreal will be between 10 to 15. I think that would be my
Wow.
shot on that
Wow.
one. So
Wow.
that's something, Marco, we need to take a note and then remind us at the end of the year, Frank, what we're going to be on that one. But next move on, Marco. Next one. Montreal Canadiens at the end finish above the Ottawa Senator and the standing.
That's a really tough one because to me, it really depends if Linus Allmark comes back soon or not. Like, I know they're kind of getting by with Merrill-Linen and Forsberg right now, and they're still miraculously getting points almost at the same pace as Montreal is, which is very annoying to watch. Same with Columbus, who's now beating Toronto 4-0. Jesus. It's like nobody loses in that East race anymore. It's crazy. But no, I think it's gonna be tough. Like, I think it's gonna be so close. Again, those games, Montreal has 3 games left against Ottawa. So it's really gonna come down to those 3 games. I can just imagine how intense those games are gonna be, coach. Holy jeez. I'm gonna say no, not at all. They don't finish above Ottawa, but I think we'll be close because I think Allmark will come back. And I don't think Staios is done. I think he's still in the market, still trying to improve this team. So I'm going to say Ottawa finishes ahead.
I'm going to go against you on that one. I'm going to go all the freaking way. Yeah, Montreal beat them earlier in the season. Obviously, it doesn't mean much, but that was without Laine, that was without Carrier, that was without Dobesh. I think they have a much better team than the team that beat them pretty solidly early in the season. So just based on that and on the immaculate vibes and the fact that they have a knack to step up so far when the games really matter, I think it's going to be a very fun series of games. I don't know how far apart they are, but if they're somewhat close, if there's a couple, like if there's 1 week where they play twice in the same week or something like that,
Oh yeah,
it's going to be absolute cinema, as the kids say.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, you can't underestimate how well defensively Ottawa is playing right now. If you look at their goals against and how Travis Green has been playing some really, really good defensive hockey.
My question, Marco, about that. Did you say Ulmark is not coming back?
I said it depends on how quickly he comes back, right?
Yeah, exactly. So okay, perfect. Yeah. I agree with you about that. I think this is a factor for Ottawa Senator, from my opinion.
Yeah.
Tkachuk at 0 points the last 8 games, I believe.
Well, that's what I mean, Coach. Like Ottawa is still getting points. They're playing super well defensively. Like it's a different story than Montreal, but it's a similar thing, right? They're learning how to win, right? Without their top goalie, without production from Tkachuk, they're also finding creative ways to win, right? So Montreal and Ottawa story is very similar. I think what Montreal is doing is more astonishing because nobody expected it. While most people expected Ottawa to be where they are, nobody expected Montreal to be there. So it's a bonus for us. Now, as Habs fans, and I you know me, I come from Ottawa, right? But I would love to rub it into my face's family if Montreal did, because guys, if you watch any kind of podcasts of Detroit, Buffalo, or Ottawa, they said it themselves this summer. If somehow Montreal finishes ahead of us this year, it's going to be a shame. It's going to be like a total shaming because these teams have been doing their rebuild for so much longer. So it's going to be a fun day, but let's try to be respectful too, right? Because we don't want to be those types of people that go on X and start being dicks about it, but it's going to feel good.
Here we go, guys. Martin Saint-Louis, the Pee Wee coach. I want to talk about him. Passion, communication, agreement. They all buy in, pay the price, and the trust. I think I want to bring this because I think Martin Saint-Louis, we talked earlier, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Martin Saint-Louis is really the driver of that team. He's stubborn, but he really believes at what he feel the team, what he need. And I think I didn't see any player said against Martin Saint-Louis, the fact he doesn't want to play for him or something like that. And he go through really a nightmare at the beginning of the season with the system and everything. He keep consistently pushing hard. His communication with the player is really great about that. That's the reason I believe the player are agree to buy in, to sacrifice, change the way they play, and send that. I think Martin Saint-Louis, the team is very better. And Martin Saint-Louis, during that process, he become also better. So what I want to sharing with you guys is this part. The trust of Martin Saint-Louis with his player. His communication is excellent. And I want to refer to you one specific play against the Tampa Bay Lightning. We are approximately 4 minutes at the end of the third period. And they have a face-off on the right side of the Montembeau. Zuski just finished his shift. He could send Jake Evans, but he decided to go back with Kirby Dach line. On that line, they have Dach, Newhook, and Laney. And they have Jekai and Savard on that one. Now I'm going to refer more about that on that play. The puck go on the left side after the face-off, and nobody checked Edmund and front the net. And then Dach wrenched his stick all the way, and he tipped the puck, and the puck go all up in the net over Montembeau. They have a whistle. After that, Jake Evans come back for the next shift, and that's opening the goal. What's the point behind that? Is because I believe Martin St-Louis is the heart of everything for the Montreal Canadiens, and his relationship with the Montreal Canadian player are very unique. And I think this is another reason Martin St-Louis, like I said earlier, guys, he could put Dach in on the sur la passerelle, on would dire en français, right? But I think at the end of the day, this is what Martin St-Louis is. He trusts, he have a gut feeling, and he still considers to prove to the players, hey, I believe on you. This is the reason I send you there. And that will give them confidence. Frank, at the beginning of the show, talk about Dach get better. The strength of Kirby Dach today compared before is really his confidence right now. He's on his max. He's just getting better. So for me, at the think of some time, this is the reason they're happening for the Montreal Canadiens and Martin St. Louis. So I would like to hear from you. Maybe a comments about Martin St. Louis, about the fact like three things Martin St. Louis he did really well, guys. It's about learn to win the game, the maturity of the Montreal Canadiens, and the value of puck management, game management, and risk management. And this is the reason I believe where the Montreal are today compared to was before that. The players learning, they get better, they execute better. Not perfect, like the game against Tampa Bay Lightning. But at some point, I think this is a new team where the maturity of that team grows so much in the last couple of weeks or 2 months. So I would like to hear from both of you. You know, I put some really content about Martin St. Louis and maybe evaluate Martin St. Louis and the team in general. I think the 3 point right now value, Marco. I know you're going to like it. The puck, the game, and the risk management.
Yeah, let's let Frank go first because we know he has to jump out at 10. So Frank, why don't you give us your take on this, and then I'll let you do your exit and say bye to everybody as you pop out.
Will do. And yeah, apologies. I do have to run away, but thanks. And I'll end on this. But yeah, I think you're bang on, Coach. I think you really hit the nail on the head that this is a coach that really has the pulse of this team and really has the respect of this team. And we keep forgetting this is such a young team. Like Slavkovsky is so young. Heineman is so young. There's Kirby Dach is not that old either. So there's really a lot of growing pains that we had to expect from a rebuilding team, and we're seeing some of it, and it's not unexpected. But the only way to gain experience is by learning firsthand. So how are you going to win? Learn how to win in important moments like the end of a game where you have an important face-off. If you're sitting on the bench, you have to go and learn by being there, by playing those situations, failing at times and learning where you went wrong to only come back and learn how to do it properly the next time. And so I think there's a really good understanding of that, not only by Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon, but also like Marty St. Louis and the coaching staff. They understand that they're working towards something that will take time to build, but they eventually will reap the rewards, right? So absolutely not surprised that Marty St. Louis still has the confidence of this management group, because he's been like every night it almost seems like there's a wisdom of nugget in a press conference that he just says the right thing, and that the players see and listen to all of that. Like, he's not overreacting when it's a big loss. He's not like over cheerful when it's a win. He's always trying to find like an even keel thing to say, and that really puts the emphasis on what's the next step and where the team should be growing towards and where should they work towards to improve as a group. So yeah, I'm absolutely not surprised and thrilled that we have this guy. As much as I was, curious about him, like we said, like the Pee-wee coach label coming in, a lot of question marks. But it's sort of to paraphrase Einstein, if you're always trying the same thing, how can you expect different results? So kudos to Jeff Molson at the very top to try a GM that was not from the old like Rolodex of GMs, who then hired a coach who was not from the old Rolodex of of coaches who've been around the block. Like, this is a new approach. This is a new system. This is a new way of doing things in Montreal. And who here is surprised to see a Hall of Famer guy who has discarded his whole career figure out how to be successful in a position where he was expected to fail? So all of this is really, like you said, Marco, everything is so rosy right now. It's hard to say anything bad, but like, it really feels like it's all coming into place right now. And yeah, it's been an absolute treat to watch this team for the past 20 games or so. And on this note, I will have to run away, but thank you everyone for your patience. And thanks, Coach, for having me.
Yeah. Always a treat to have you, Frank. So thank you very much, sir. Enjoy the stale coffee and donuts and sandwiches or whatever they're giving you where you are there. So enjoy that, and we'll have you. We'll do this again real soon, man. Thank you.
Have a good night, Frank. Thanks so much. Appreciate that.
Good night, everyone.
Okay, great job for Frank and Marco. Where you go through the problem we got so far. Not too bad. Hopefully, we continue that way. We'll go that one. Yes, I think Martin St-Louis step up for sure for Montreal Canadiens. But one person who never talk about this, Marco, you're going to smile. The reason why is Martin St-Louis because Roger Grillo.
Not a bad point. It's an interesting theory. Before we move on from, can you go back to your last slide, Coach, or unless it breaks anything? But there's another one thing I want to talk about tonight too that Sandy we talked about recently, which I thought was really interesting. Is I think we talked about it in our group chat the other night. Is he was talking about mistakes, right? The different types of mistakes that players make, and to me, like we've talked about this before here, and one of the things that he does really well is selling and getting people to buy in, right? He's gotten so good at selling things that he doesn't even really need to say it anymore. Like the players are almost coaching themselves now, right? Like he said this in his last press conference that sometimes he'll think about saying something, but then he'll see that another player will kind of like tell the player, oh, hey, were you supposed to do this, or give feedback? So like that's a very standard thing too, right? Like when you're a manager or when you're like responsible for leading people, that's the best thing the best legacy that you can leave, right? Is if you go on vacation for 2 weeks, you want your people to be able to continue working even if their manager is not there. And we kind of saw that last year when Martin St-Louis had to go away. Like, look how they rallied around each other when Martin St-Louis had to leave because of the sun and everything, right? So one thing that St-Louis talked about that was really cool too, guys, he was talking about the difference between the types of mistakes. He was talking about and how he reacts differently to the player depending on the type of mistakes that they make. So one of the mistakes that he talked about was, I guess he said, execution mistakes. And then there was mistakes that you make on reads, right? Two very different things. If they make a mistake on execution, but they were in the right place on the ice. So what we mean by execution, guys, let's say Gouli, right? Like yesterday, I talked about how he had a tough period, right? The first goal, he was in the right place, but he lost the puck in his skates, right? And Kucherov comes in and tucks it in. So it's annoying, right? Like we all don't like that, right? But you're not going to be super hard on Gouli in that situation because he was in the right place. It's just an execution error, maybe a lack of attention to detail. We talked about maybe he's tired, all these things, right? So you're not going to kind of come down and bear down on a guy for that. But then you have a situation where, say, the second goal, you have Kirby Dach who misses his assignment and the guy goes to the net. I think it was Gensel goes right to the net. So that's more of like a read, right? So he didn't read, he wasn't positioned properly. That's a different thing. In those cases, saying we will have a conversation with the player and let's say that he didn't make the right read. So to me, those are it's so cool the way that he thinks about things. And it shows the intelligence that he has not to, kind of like impact the player too negatively when they're doing the right thing, but they just make a mistake versus trying to help somebody get better and trying to correct something that is more of a bigger problem. So I thought it was just really cool the way that he put that, the difference between errors when it comes to reads and when it comes to execution. And I'm sure he talked a little bit about some of those things in the practice that Montreal had today.
Yeah, another word I think I could add, I did not, the rewards, right? This is another one. It's about decision making. I think on the goal of Cody, the puck did not go on the air, like he did not flip and then come bouncing after that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like for sure. Like it came, it bounced, and then it was like kind of like lost in his skates or whatever. And he just lost it, right? So again, he was in the right place.
Yep.
It's just a shitty situation, and like sometimes Gooley, that's one of his things that he needs to work on is his retrievals. Like sometimes he kind of like boggles the puck a little bit. But listen, like what Gooley does is on most nights is far better than some of these things that happen, right? So yeah, like overall, like I think you're right, coach. Like to me, the biggest compliment that you can give Saint Louis is that the players themselves not have only bought in, but they're teaching each other and they're reinforcing it to each other what he's trying to teach them, right? So it's very, very good. Very good
I'm going
news.
to have three quick subject, Marco. Then you can go also. I look like we're a little bit more stable. That's a good thing, guys. I'm really impressed, Marco. First of all, both of you, Frank and you guys, you come back every time. You never give up. And the people that chat, they not go nowhere. They stay with us all night, guys, to consist whatever we are struggling at the beginning. And I think that's only the second time since I moved here, we struggling on the internet. And I'm not sure. I will see. Anyway, we
Yeah.
are the good news. We are back. If I ask all the people in the chat and you, Marco, who is your MVP after 47 game? I believe we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who would
I
be
think
your
I've said this before. Yeah. I think I said it over the last couple shows, coach. Like for me, my MVP is Lane Hudson for sure. Um, just like to me, the like I guess you can make cases for Caulfield and Suzuki, I guess, like but for me, Hudson is the guy I think that impacts the game the most. Like he's on the ice the most. He I find he's kind of invigorated. Like, could you arguably say that Suzuki and Caulfield would have the same amount of production this year, both being almost point per game players, if Lane Hudson wasn't in the Montreal lineup? I'm not sure about that. Like what he opens up on most nights, coach, for in terms of offensive chances. Which fan on here? So I'm curious to hear you guys in the chat. Which one of you, when Montreal is not playing well, let's say the team's coming on a little, like the opposing team is coming on, Montreal's a little flat. Who doesn't ask, okay, when is Lane going to come back on? Because we need to make something happen. You're almost waiting for him to come back on the ice because each time he's on the ice, he's going to make something happen. Not only is he going to make something happen offensively, but he's going to battle, and he's going to, sometimes he's going to make mistakes. The only thing sometimes is when he's skating back for the puck and he's going back to retrieve the puck with a much bigger guy. He's very smart with how he positions. Like he doesn't go and initiate contact, and sometimes he'll let the guy get the puck. And I'm always like, oh my God, I can't believe he's letting him retrieve the puck without even stopping him. But then he always finds a way to let the guy take the puck, but then he goes around the other way and interrupts him with a stick or something like that. So for me, coach, I'd like to say it's close, but it's not close at this point. I have to say for sure that Lane is the MVP for me, 100%.
Yeah, I can understand your point of view about that. I think you have a three players could be a part of this. I think Nick Zuski and Cole Caulfield are really the three players making an impact. Both of them make a fun impact with the way they play, right?
Yeah.
But if you compare for what they are today, what they was 1 year ago, with it, I really believe Lane Hudson is the factor of what they are today. By his play on the ice, the power play is getting better because not only because Patrick Laney, but for me, what is more impressive, we don't talk about many times about this, right? We talk about his vision, we talk about his IQ, we talk about decision making, we talk about his opportunity he create for other people. But I don't know how they can do that, but I don't. Maybe they have a stat. How many times the puck of the past of Leonardson is always on the tape of the players. Is and when I said that, Marco, where the player is in movement, right?
In movement.
Right? Like we play be a league and you get you skating and then behind me, right? On my
Yeah.
skate. You don't have to be a BLA. You can see NHL, by the way. But I
Yep.
think this is really a details of what Leonardson for me is phenomenal. And you can see that, I would say, the reason I bring that to you, Marco, because sometimes if you watch the American Hockey League players, right, the team, Laval, but
Yeah.
I watch more the Demidov this year. And I hope for the next 5 years, I call Ken Hughes every day. Do not draft any players from Russia. Is going to be a good player because I don't want to go back at 2 o'clock in the morning every night. So he play again tonight
Could be
at
worse.
11:30. So
Would you prefer they pay in the Swedish men's league only in North America, or
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So my point behind that is when you watch KHL, many times the defenseman will send the puck between the skate or the midfield, example, behind him. So I think Lennartson is a great another area he's so skilled about Lennartson. Yes, I would give him to him for Lennartson, my MVP for the Montreal Canadiens. A lot of people in the chat talk about different things, um, what's going on, everything like that. I want to give you a little bit more information for one or two things. First of all, Sakoski, is it a player of the second year, after the second year only? It looked like he got the illness of the Ottawa Senator. He's getting better for the last couple of games, and I still believe he's going to be a monster in NHL. I think he's going to be that kind of player for the Montreal Canadiens a long term. When he's going to learn, we talk about the word maturity, Marco, about the Montreal Canadiens. It takes time to learning. You said earlier the execution is better. I feel the same way with Sakoski, and now you have to start to tell him the season start October. But how you feel about Sakoski, and for what you saw, what you thinking was going to become in the future?
Yeah. I think there's a parallel that I'd like to strike here with Lane Hudson, coach. When Hughes signed Slavkovsky to this contract, you might remember the main reason I wasn't nervous about it at all is because they were betting on the person even more than the hockey player, right? And it's the same thing with Hudson. Hudson and Slavkovsky are very similar in the following ways. They care, they work hard, and they want to get better. And they have they're like sponges, right? Like they want to get better and everything else. So for me, that's the biggest thing for Slavkovsky, right? Is you can have the big body, you can have good talent, but if you're not going to work harder than everybody else, and if you're not going to be receptive to coaching, you're not going to get there. So all reports that we hear and the reaction that we see from Slavkovsky and when he's answering questions, it shows that he's super receptive, right? So it's just a matter of time until he puts that all together. So for me, I'm not nervous about him getting to where he's going to go because I believe in him as a person. I believe in him as a professional, which is very similar to Lane Hudson. That's what we learned about Lane Hudson this year too, is that he's an absolute pro. So now that we've established that we shouldn't be nervous, or anyways, that I'm not nervous about the long-term deal, the question is, what is he going to become? And I know for a lot of people, it's really hard right now, coach. I don't even know if I should say this out loud on a Habs podcast, but Logan Cooley is a point of game player pretty much in the NHL right now, right? So it's very hard for fans to kind of look at that and second guess kind of this pick. I've said it from the beginning. I wouldn't be surprised if both Cooley and maybe even Shane Wright end up getting more points every year than Slavkovsky. I won't be surprised, and I won't be disappointed because that's only a part of what Slav is going to do, right? If Slav is a 75, 80 point player, but completes Suzuki and Caulfield the way that we think he's going to complete that line, and both Suzuki and Caulfield continue to be point per game plus players, and Montreal is winning, I think it's the right pick. And we haven't even seen him in the playoffs yet, right? So I think what we need to do is not have preset expectations of what he's going to be. He's not going to be a 40 goal scorer. He's not going to have 100 points in the NHL. He's going to be probably like maybe his highest point per game is going to be like 80 to 85 points in the NHL. And I'd be fine with that. I think it's still a good pick because say what you want, like Logan Cooley might be a point per game player. And, but we'll see kind of how he pans out in the long run, like in the playoffs and things like that. Like, it's hard to say. So I'm not worried about Slafkovsky. I think some fans are going to have a hard time dealing with comparisons with him. You can say the same thing about Reinbacher and Michkov, unfortunately. Guys, I'm not one of those people that say, hey, we just have to be happy and not question anything. Listen, I love questioning. I love debating. I have no problem giving my own opinion. And I don't think we should give carte blanche to management either. But I don't think it's fair, or I don't think it makes sense to necessarily have a comparison to those players because they're not the same players. It's not the same thing. So I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be a really important part of the team. So I don't have too many worries about him long term.
I don't know. I could be wrong here, but I understand. You can say, "Oh my God, the first round pick, you had to go that way," right? I think if you look about the last 24 NHL draft pick and 21 century, Slafkovsky would never be the first round pick at the end of the day. Most of them. Secondly, I would say to you, if he can reach the number of Audrey Palat when he was playing with Tampa Bay Lightning, Marco, I think there will be a good number situation for him if he played the same level. I think behind Sankos and Kucherov, Palat played a big role in the Stanley Cup playoff all the time, every year. He was really good. It was funny because if you follow the Palat during those years, the 5, 6 years, one great year during the regular season, one bad year after that. A great year back, but the playoff, he was always on the top. We'll see what
Yeah.
he's going to be about that.
For
It's
me,
not on the same.
Nichushkin is kind of where I would like to see him be without the cocaine problem, but Nichushkin level would be kind of where I'd like to, like, I think you have to take, like, a lot of people have compared him, he's going to be like Rantanen or Yager.
No.
I don't think that's going to happen, guys. But Valerie Nichushkin, if anybody in Montreal, if you could have a Valerie Nichushkin kind of player, it's very hard to say no to. Like, we've heard that term used before. Like, it's kind of like a unicorn. That's a unicorn kind of player, Valerie Nichushkin.
We have to give credit for the goal he did yesterday. Not many players will shot the puck there, and I don't know, he's a lucky goal, but I think this one was a good one. Marco is not on the subject, I want to bring to you, and I know it's a little bit early, we still have a couple of weeks. Do you feel or do you think, and I know it will hurt teams, but the break of 2 weeks in February, do you think it could hurt or help the Montreal Canadiens during the Four Nation 2 weeks break? When you come back, you know what I mean? Like you miss a couple of days, it's not end the world. But 2 weeks, it's a 12, 13 days. It's a long period at the not at the middle, but at the 3 quarter of the season. How are you feeling about that? How you see that?
Yeah.
They get so positive.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think it's the classic. We hear this in the playoffs every year. It's the rest versus rust debate, right? Like that you hear, like when one team has swept one team and then the other team goes to 7 games. So in game one of that series, is it going to be the team that's been off for a week or the team that just came off the game 7 that's going to carry the momentum, right? So you'll have the same thing, right? You're going to have some teams that have more players that were playing in the Four Nations. And in the case of Montreal, I think they have 3 players. I think they're going to be there. So the most, other than Montembeault, which unless he plays, really you're just going to have Armia and Laine that are going to be probably playing those games, right? Unless Suzuki somehow comes into for someone that's injured or something like that, or Caulfield. So it looks like Montreal's core is going to be pretty well rested. So it's easy to make the argument that, hey, that's a huge advantage. These other teams' core players are going to, kind of still have all these extra minutes logged. But I don't think it's going to be that big deal of a coach because, again, most teams, what team has the most guys going to the tournament is like 5, isn't it? Like
Tampa Bay Lightning.
Vegas. No, I think it's Vegas. Vegas has like 5 or
Tampa Bay Lightning, il y a Cirelli, right?
yeah,
Edmond.
yeah,
They have Point.
yeah.
Do I miss one? But you have a couple of players there. 1 point, and after that, A2 mentioned, and Marco, maybe you said, is the fact that we may be helping the most is Lane Hudson.
Yeah, no, that's a good point too. But overall, coach, like even the teams that have say 5 players, most of the team is still going to have all the rest, right? So you're going to have a handful of players that don't miss a beat, but you're still most of the teams are like 75% of their players are going to be off, right? So I don't think it's going to be a huge factor. It really depends on mindset. So up to the coaching staff to kind of come up with a way to get everybody engaged again. So I don't think Montreal can use it as an excuse. They have to kind of find a way to recapture lightning in a bottle here once they come back from the Four Nations.
And after ce Kucherov Vasilevsky, no, they play for Russia.
That's right.
So
yeah, they're not.
Yeah.
I don't know what tournament Enertop's going to be watching, but by the way, coach, that is a rumor though, that the International Hockey Federation.
Yeah,
that would be amazing. Wouldn't it be so amazing to have Russia back though in international hockey? Like it would be so fun to have them back.
Yeah, I want to finish that one because it's 10:22, and then your dog is ready. Big game tomorrow. This is the Detroit Red Wings. The standing is there. We know now Montreal is out. Columbus won tonight. But my point behind that is not the same Detroit Red Wings. When they played a couple of weeks ago, they won a back-to-back game, a Friday night, a Saturday with Lalonde, I think, and then he got fired, the coach, and everything like that. Detroit play better. Detroit record is looking better. I know they lost the last game, or the 2 last game. It wasn't easy when you go play Tampa Bay, Florida. They beat the Florida Panthers, by the way. So it's not the same team. So what do you expect tomorrow night for the Montreal Canadiens? Montreal Canadiens, they won the last 2 of the 3 last game. They won the 2. On the road, they are unbelievable. I think they are a record of 9-1 the last 12 game, 11 game, 12 game, I think they are. So what do you feel about the Montreal Canadiens? Are you confident? Do you feel good? What do you have to do to beat the Detroit Red Wings, of course?
The key for against playing Detroit, I've been watching a lot of their games, coach, just because obviously we're scoreboard watching right now and following a little closely. So having watched them a lot over the last, say, 10 of their games, the key with them is you got to stay out of the penalty box. Very similar to what you did against in Tampa, they still took too many penalties, right? So you got to stay out of the box. The one thing about Detroit's winning streak that they had, I don't know if it was super sustainable because their power play coach was like running at like almost 90%. It was insane. Like there's no way it's going to run that hot. And their 5-on-5, they weren't scoring as much as they're really, really feeding off their power play. So we'll see who they get in net. Line has been struggling, and Talbot, has been playing a bit better for them, but it's Cam Talbot, right? I'm not a huge fan. So I think Montreal, it's going to be a close game, like everything else. I think Montreal, like we've been talking about since the beginning of the show, they had their practice. I think it's really, really important that they go back, play a little bit tighter defensively than they have. Hopefully they'll be a bit sharper, like I said, on the execution side. And coach, it would be nice for them to get out to a lead. Like the one thing, coach, that I'll say, like I said, a lot of comeback wins over the last little while. When was the last time Montreal scored first, held the lead throughout the whole game, and won the game without having the team come back, tie, then have to go overtime? It would just be nice to have Montreal take the lead, keep the lead. I'm not saying it has to be a shutout, right? Like not every game is going to be a shutout, but take the lead, have a strong start, and maintain the lead. That would be nice to see. That's kind of what we saw them do really well when they were really, really heated up at the beginning of January against Florida, Colorado, and those teams in Dallas. So I think that's the key, coaches. Got to limit the defensive mistakes and those execution mistakes in the D zone. Stay off, keep them off the power play, and everything else should be fine. They'll give themselves a chance to win.
Exactly. That was my last point for you was the indiscipline amount. The Montreal Canadiens to be a little bit more careful. They have an average of 4 penalty per game. They
Second
are
in the NHL.
second in
Second.
the second in NHL for the most minor penalty. And sometimes it's about awareness, Marco. It's not about like like a breakaway. Now you get there, then you can. No, it's
No.
awareness about their sick. They don't pay attention to
Yep.
that, and then after that is because they don't move their feet, right, or they get beat. So I think it'll be very important about that. But again, you have a chance right there. This is another game. We're going to say that every game, maybe, but I think compared to New Jersey Saturday, tomorrow night is a 4 point and the standing. You don't chasing the Devils, right? You don't worry about the Devils. It's really the Red Wings. So we'll see happening for that. We're going to shut down here if you don't mind. I think it'll be look. I'm really impressed again. Like I said to you guys, all the patient and also Marco is trying to come back every time he was kicked out. I don't know. I don't, and that's honestly happening. Maybe it's internet. I mean, it look like he's pretty good now. And then we want to thank all the people start the show with us, and they stay all the way to the end. We cross again a 60 like. We create. We did a couple of record the last couple of games. Nothing about me, Marco. It's all about the Montreal Canadiens success. Like we got yesterday 500 viewers at the game. At some point,
That's crazy.
we get
That's
over
amazing.
300 likes 2 game this week. Yesterday in the Dallas, I believe. We get today 7,000 viewers. We're increasing about 80 likes, 80 subscribers the last couple of games. So look, again, this channel is just not because of me. It's because all of you people in the chat that make this happen, and they take the time to come back every night. I'm just impressed about all of you, Marco and Frank. So I know you have to go. I'll let you go, and we'll finish the show by myself to shut the conclusion of that show tonight. But Marco, another great night, and we have to be ready for the Detroit Red Wings tomorrow night. We see if Mark it would be fun if I can talk with Marco Devillano on that one.
Oh
Next
yeah, I'll
next
be
time, Marco, we're going to talk about the Montreal Canadian prospect, not prospect, but the NHL draft 2025
mid-season
prospect.
ranking. Yeah,
Um, we
mid-season.
have too many people busy today, but Bob McKenzie get released is
Mid-season ranking.
Did you watch? I didn't read yet. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched this. So yeah, for anybody that's interested, so Bob McKenzie released his mid-season ranking this year for the 2025 entry draft. Interesting, new number one. So new number one player. I won't spoil it, but go check out Bob McKenzie's mid-season draft ranking. New player ranked at number one. Coach right at number 15 is the player that we've been talking about. One Mr. Bear. Ranked
Yeah.
number 15. And guess who's in the top 5 now? Frondell. Mr. Frondell back in the top 5, just as I predicted. I think he might end up being top 3.
It's funny because he used him there, and the elite prospect. I talked with Cam Robinson. He put him out of the top 15.
That's crazy.
So
That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
I think
I
he
would
could
be
be
shocked.
out of the top 10.
Nah, I don't think so. A two-way center like that, coach, that has like, I just don't see that.
And the
happening.
reason I said that, look what happened with Anton Lundell. Lundell get out of the top 10 at the end.
Yeah.
He got out 12. Not saying Lundell would be there. I know that year of Lundell, it was the year, I believe, of all the Team USA development.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Surcott,
Yeah.
Knight, Caulfield, everything.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to say
Yeah.
about that. I'm going to make my middle of the January pick or the end this week, maybe the next couple of days. But look, we appreciate that, Marco. I hold you until the end. I can't wait to see you next Wednesday for another notebook. So have an amazing, great night, Marco. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. Thanks for sticking with us.
Thank you. It was Marco Larabi, guys, from Hawkesbury. We got Frank a little bit earlier, guys. What a great night. Again, you guys, I'm so impressed. Like Jack just become a subscriber of the Hockey Nation Live show. We try to get a 9,000 subscriber very soon. I will go take one by one. But again, the Montreal Canadiens success make a big difference of what we become inside the Hockey Nation show. Apologize about that one with that. Where are you, coach? I don't know where I am. That's happening sometime. It's funny about that. When I click on something, everything turn around to be bad. But thanks everybody for being part of the show tonight. I can wait to see all of you next week, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock for the game between the Montreal Canadiens and the Detroit Red Wings. That's it. That's all tonight. We want to thank Moderator Luciano, Ron Enartap, Marco Frank at the co-host, RJ Calabro, the news update, all the people in the chat with all the likes and all the people sharing your knowledge about hockey, about Montreal Canadiens. You guys, you rock. The reason this channel grow is because that's who you are.
You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you.
Exactly the reason why we are getting better. You have greatness inside of you. We wish you an amazing, great night, Wesley. Sleep high. I can't wait to see you tomorrow night, 7 o'clock p.m. for the Montreal Canadiens versus the Detroit Red Wings. Tomorrow night, the game is on the road. It is at the Little Caesar Arena, one of the best arena in NHL. If you have a chance to go to watching the Detroit Red Wings, guys, go there. We want to wish the best for Alan Vaillancourt and Aaron Vaillancourt. They are on the back to driving to go home. I'm sure Alan is going to talk about the game between the Nashville Predators against the San Jose Sharks. I don't know if you watched the game last night, guys. The Nashville lead, the San Jose was leading 5-1, and then the Nashville came back with 6 goals to beat the San Jose by the score 7-5. Until then, my friend, of course, be well, be healthy. Find a way not only dominate your day, but find a way to dominate the first half of what? Somewhere I looked up what somebody said. 2025. It was a pleasure to entertain you tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed the show tonight. I can wait to see you Thursday night. And then we're going to be back Friday night with a fun show. Friday night, we're going to talk about many things. We're going to take back maybe where friendship was. I don't know yet. We have maybe a plan to figure out something. And Saturday, Montreal owes the New Jersey Devils. Of course, the Hockey Nation, I should want to tell you one more thing. We love you, friends. Have an amazing, great night, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And 2 more days of the week, Thursday, Friday. Look up for don't really care. He's retired, so he have a vacation every single day. Thanks so much, Luc, RJ Calabro. Zev the cab, knock the door. Don't forget to click on the like before you knock to get out. And buono noche, Mr. Alex Gracia. You're welcome, Alex. Appreciate a lot. Nicolas de Gobibono, go to bed. Tomorrow you have a busy day at work, Nicolas. And you have to be ready on that one. Tonight, what you do, coach? You go out at the menu? No. I'm watching even the Midav. You can follow me on my X account to follow up everything about the Montreal Canadiens prospect. I write article every day. And I talk about the Montreal Canadiens prospect. You have to visit me at the Coach Frenchy 10X. That's all, my friend. I will see you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Good night. Here we go. Oh. Booyah!